call this meeting to order. We're here at the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting on April 8th, 2024 at 5 p.m. We're going to start with Pastor Mulberry, the invocation, and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Boron.
Good evening, everyone. Father, we thank you again for another day. We thank you for how good you've been towards us. God, you brought us together again one more time, and we say thank you. We pray, God, for your leading, for your guiding, your directions and undertakings of these tasks. We pray for the diocese, Lord, that you will bless the working minds to move this city in a direction that's needful for the benefit of the people. Pray, God, that your will be done, your kingdom come, and your glory be revealed. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Ms. Krantz.
Certainly. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Here. Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Representative Teresa Jackson.
Present.
Commissioner Terry Turner.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
We have a quorum in the chambers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. On to the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from the February 12th, 2024 regular meeting and the March 6th, 2024 special called meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. I'm going to open the floor up to public comments on general topics not specific to anything on the agenda. Please limit your comments rather to 3 minutes and give your name and address for the record. Is there anybody here for public comments for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we're going to close public comments. Moving on to regular business, direction update, building improvement cost share grant. Mr. Griffith.
Board members, good evening. Included in your packet, you'll see a summary Ms. Baggs put together for us. Unfortunately, under this most recent cycle, we only received 3 building improvement cost share grant applications, and of the 3, only 2 were deemed complete applications. Ms. Baggs and Ms. Krantz are working to get that advisory committee set up to review those applications and get a recommendation to you. But in light of that, we were hoping for some additional direction. We typically only advertise this program twice a year. We would like to go ahead and re-advertise another cycle and see if we can't get some additional exposure and some applications for your consideration. Again, 3 applications received, and just in the downtown district alone, you budgeted in excess of $120,000 this year. So we obviously did not reach our intended target there. So again, the request is authorization to re-advertise.
Question?
Board staff recommendation.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we follow staff recommendation to re-advertise.
Second on that.
A motion and a second to open it up again for further advertisement. Do we have all in favor?
I have just
Oh,
a
go ahead.
question. With regards to putting it back, is there a specific time you're going to leave it out, or is there a specific number that you're trying to reach? What will we do different based on how we advertised last time to make sure that we do it a little bit different this time? So what are some things that we're going to do different in the process?
I'll share with you some of the ideas that we've thrown around, and your input would be appreciated. We are going to do a direct mailer to all the property owners. We are going to look to do some advertising regionally and statewide to see if we can garner some interest for individuals that may be looking at properties that are currently on the market and see if we can bring some private investment into the community. I think the problem that we're seeing highlighted here is that not a lot of people understand that this opportunity is out there. So generally what we're going to try and do is get it in front of as many people as possible. But again, specifically a direct mailer to those property owners within the TIF districts as well as trying to get some exposure statewide.
As far as time frame, what's the anticipated time frame?
Yeah, with a program like this, we don't want to shorten it. They do have to pull together a lot of information. And if we are expanding it to kind of a statewide audience, you're probably looking at a 4-month advertisement.
Thank you. Just wanted to kind of get a
Yeah, thank you.
ballpark figure of everything.
Any? Okay, any additional questions? Comments?
Just
Oh,
like that.
and then you say your advertisement, you say you're gonna expand that, correct? And so you mean to tell me like the central and south are the biggest two, and then you got the north. So those individuals or people did not get it throughout, I mean, not a big response from all of those?
No, sir. This is probably the least amount of applications I've ever seen in my tenure with the city and CRA. So not to say that these shouldn't be evaluated. We're going to do that, get them before you. But I think we just need to do a better job with this next advertisement cycle.
And two, we had representatives for each one of those areas as well too, right? And I think they have meetings on a periodic basis.
I couldn't say. I don't know if the neighborhood associations are still regularly
Okay.
meeting, but we definitely reach out and use those as a channel to get the message out.
Okay, I just want to make sure we reach out to as many as we can. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, comments?
Just one more, I
Sure.
apologize. With reference to the 3 that are already on there, will notification are we proceeding or are we holding off? Will they be notified that the process has been extended? What?
Oh, so to be clear, we're still going to evaluate the 3 that were submitted. And we'll bring a recommendation from that advisory committee back to this board. And we're just advertising another cycle.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
I do have a question. You said you're gonna evaluate the 3. I thought 2. What are you gonna do about the 1 that was incomplete?
So it'll be up to the advisory committee if they think it's a small informality that they can waive. It may have been something to the effect of a copy of the deed showing ownership in the property. It may have been something material like quotes are missing. If quotes are missing and they can't substantiate their request, obviously I doubt they'll be making a recommendation for award.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Next item, discussion direction, 300 North 11th Street, Belton property. Mr. Bell?
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. I want to first start off by thanking all the commissioners that came out for the discussion about the Belton property. We had, I think, a robust conversation. Thanks to all the community members that were able to participate in that discussion. In your packet, you'll see that we included documentation of, or a screenshot essentially of the comments that were provided, some of the photographs of the items that were placed on the walls to provide the background and history. Thanks to the Belton family for coming out and participating in that. Where we stand on this now is looking for direction from the CRA and how we want to proceed. It is our recommendation that we proceed with a detailed inspection and structural assessment of the building to give you the type of information that would be helpful in assessing the viability of the property moving forward. We're also suggesting that there be additional opportunities for public input. This was one meeting. This is one opportunity for people to come out and provide their feedback. Perhaps if we were able to do this again, we would get additional feedback. And The question still remains whether or not we want to move to different locations in order to get that feedback. It makes sense where we were because it was close to the Belton property, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we got received all of the feedback that may have been available. And one of the questions that was posed was the timing. If we did it at different times, would we get feedback from different people that may not have been available at the time that we did it? So that's where we stand now, and we're looking for direction.
I got a concern. Well, for one, I'm confused about the Belton property because I do know the city did purchase that property with the intent for, I guess, the demolition of the property because we paid a fair amount for the property as they did have code violations, and the agreement was made that we would pay will seek to try to acquire the property to improve the property for future improvements in the area. So we have paid the Beltons for that particular property, correct?
That's my understanding. Yes.
So I think what we're doing now, we're really going against what the city initial plan was, and I don't know how we got back here. I do know the code enforcement has done a phenomenal job, and they put in countless hours into getting us to this point. And so that's one issue and concern I have.
Certainly.
The other piece is that we just gave a certificate of destruction for St. Mark's property. And so if we start going down a path of reversing back out of what we put in place, then we're gonna put ourselves in a really, really bad place. And so we did that, and we talked about trying to save that structure as well. So how much ever money that costs to move the structure to a new location and try to save it, as opposed to destruct it, that's another problem. And then we got the Emmett Street property, 512, that was burnt structure that we purchased. So what are we trying to do in terms of, if we do that, we need to do it for the rest of the people too. And we also have Central Academy, which is also in another, so we're gonna have people coming in asking for monies. If we give it to one, we can't pick winners and losers. That's all I'm saying.
Understood.
I will say that part of this, you can, one of the reasons I requested that we look at it due to its historical significance, Central Academy is owned by the Housing Authority. That becomes another issue. We now own this property. I also thought it was important to be transparent with the community and let them know what was going on, that we couldn't just buy and demo. The history of the Beltons, not the architecture of this building per se, but the history that happened in that building with the Beltons is significant to this community. And I just thought it was only fair that we share and talk with the community about what their vision was for that. Also, we didn't own the property that's the former rectory on the St. Mark's property as well. If this property were evaluated is possible to save, not the wonky porches, but the main structure. There is the ability to get it on the National and Local Historic Register, and grants would be available. So I guess the question is it salvageable? Is it architecturally important or historically important? And is it structurally sound? And so I think we need the community's thoughts on it, if it is, that how to move forward. Anybody else? Having vacant properties doesn't mean they will come, they wanted to tear down the 100 block buildings too, when the city owned them, and we didn't do that, and look where they are now, and they're producing a significant amount of tax revenue.
I understand that piece, but well, again, I was part of both venues, so that structure had been there for forever. We had funds at the time. We had funds, and the owners did not decide to move out at the time that we wanted to try to do the improvement. That's my issue and concern. So what led from there to now is a big gap of just, we're trying to now save it at the 11th hour. That's my issue and concern. And I was with this structure right across here. which it was, I helped save this building. Part of the decision process of helping to save this, and yes, it's in a much better place now. Because we gave the guy opportunity to move, to, instead of destroying the building, and this is where it's at now. It's a masterpiece for the city of Palatka. So I'm good with that, but I'm good with making good decisions as opposed to flipping, flopping around. And I think that's what we're doing here. We got a lot of things that's in play.
Commissioner Jones?
Tend to agree with Commissioner Bourne on this because prior to us purchasing that building, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Assistant City Manager Griffith, we purchased that, and you said it's important that we have that property to go on with the raise grant. And if that's not the case, please clarify that now for us.
Yes, sir. And the concept of trying to assemble the property around the transportation hub, the Belton property, and the two properties that you purchased around the same time, just to the north, are very integral, so that you have continuity of ownership.
So that was the plan. I have to agree with Commissioner Bourne while we going a little backwards at this point. Secondly, when we had that meeting, and I applaud your efforts to have a community input, with the exception of city staff, how many people from the community you estimate that was there? Except for city staff and that family member, 3 people. Go ahead, if you got
That's a
something.
very good question. What did you say, Assistant City Manager, less than 10?
About 10.
So I
Right.
think communication is key. Here we are again, wanting to get information out to the community, but we have a public information officer. We've given suggestions on how to get information out. Where are we in the process? And I also want to just, out of professional courtesy, thank you for asking Assistant City Manager these questions, but I would like for these questions to come from our city manager, who I've asked to be able to provide these type of answers for, because you should be in the know now. So moving forward, if there are any questions related to anything, please be able to answer them fully.
Sure.
But what's the issue with the communication? And I think I got this information. It may have been advertised. I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna say, we need to get things out. You need to be the one to make sure that it happens alongside the Assistant City Manager. But the getting information out at the last hour is our problem, I think. And I think we need to focus on the communication piece, getting things out to the community so we can get better input.
Good.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
We're not gonna get anywhere if we don't get it out. You're seeking for input. That was your goal, am I right? Madam Mayor,
Yes, it was.
to seek community input, am I right?
Yes.
But we're not getting the information out to get what we need to reach the goal first, and then we can move forward.
And I think the decision to move forward with this presentation did acknowledge the fact that there wasn't a lot of time in order for us to get greater participation, and that was unfortunate. I think the assumption was that we would have multiple opportunities to receive feedback. As I said in the beginning, that there's a possibility that we could have done at different times, different locations. So to your point, the participation was not what we expected and what we wanted. And we need to do a better job in getting the information out so that we have better response.
And make better decisions, better
Yes.
informed decisions.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Jones.
That wasn't my point. My point was that there was very little public input, and not so much of how the information got out. Maybe there's just not enough interest. And that building have been up there for some time, like neglected. And I just think that, and I'm trying to be sensitive to the ex-owners and their history. I can understand that. But at this point, you know, the grand scheme of things, the plan had already originated from internally what we're gonna do. And to deviate at this time, I just think that would be, we are going backwards and we're not going toward our forecasted view. Secondly, that meeting, as I came into it, I was kind of put on the spot to give a public opinion. And I did not think that that meeting was for that at that time. And in front of the family, it wasn't a good feel. But if we're gonna make a decision, I think we should go ahead and make a decision and stick with it and move forward, because we keep bringing things back. Once we make a decision, and I don't know how we get there, but it seems to go back into reverse and go like, hey, let's rethink it again after we have made a sound decision and this board have voted on it, this board or even the commission. I just want to say that, and Madam Mayor, with all due respect, I think that is happening in secondary meetings, it appears.
I don't think there's any secondary meeting going on. I think I just expressed a concern that the public had not been part of the discussion and that those original decisions, and that there is historical significance and that there is the possibility of adaptive reuse that could be a part of the whole multimodal composition of that area. I don't think there were any secondary meetings though, so excuse me. Go ahead.
Madam
Commissioner.
Mayor,
During the meeting that we had,
One
was
minute,
there,
Commissioner Turner.
when we did have the meeting, wasn't there opportunity for community input at that time? Just the question. So the community did have opportunity to give input, am I right?
Much of this is educational for me, having come into this in the middle of the process. I mean, it's important for the CRA to express the pleasure of the CRA and what direction you want to move in. And from what I'm understanding, that decision had pretty much been baked in the direction that you want to move in. And I'm happy from the standpoint of the manager's office to be able to execute on whatever is the pleasure of the CRA. And so it was my understanding coming into this that there wasn't a clear understanding of what that direction was, but I'm hearing that there has been a decision in what direction you want to move in. There is a wonderful video that's out there that talks about the potential of what can happen in that area. We also have some potential renderings of what it could potentially look like if it is pleasure of the CRA to move in that direction. But that's the direction that we're seeking now. Now that I'm here and then we can move forward, you tell me what direction you want to go and we will make it happen.
Yeah, and Commissioner Turner has something to say. He was on deck before you. Go ahead, Commissioner Turner.
thank you, Mayor. I agree with Commissioner Borman and Commissioner Jones on this. I think the only reason that the property, or it was pitched to buy the property, was because it was going to be a part of an overall plan to expand or develop a transportation hub. And I have to agree with the other commissioners on this. I think that the public got their chance to weigh in on whether the city should buy it or not to start with. And once they did, it was the sole purpose for expending those funds at that time was directly to benefit the plan for a new transportation hub. So I'm going to have to support Commissioner Borman Jones on this one. I believe this decision's already been made, and bringing it back is a step backwards, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments, Commissioner Borman?
Well, no, my only concern was that we've already made those decisions already. It's in the books. It's already, the votes are in the books. And so that's why I was a little bit taken back when it was brought back forth to have a conversation with, for community input at Price Martin. So that's my issue. So I'm sorry.
Commissioner Campbell?
I'll say this, and I just want us to take in consideration, especially when we put it out there to have community involvement, community engagement. Sometimes it shows in the number of people that show. And a lot of times we deem it that the word wasn't spreaded because we didn't have a room full of people, when sometimes people are just not interested in the matter at hand. And we've talked about it. And again, I would have to stand with Commissioner Turner, Commissioner Jones, and Commissioner Bourne with regards to this. This is something that we've talked about. We've talked about it extensively. And this is also one of the things that I say, that we talk about things when they're hot, but when they tend to die down, we tend to forget them. And we make it a hot topic when we've already had the answer and solution prior to making it come back to us. So again, I would like to see this move forth. I think we've had ample enough public engagement, even in our downtime. If someone was interested or wanted to see that building be reflected as something different, or to make it rehabable, it would have come before us. As of now, I say let's move forward. Let's make a decision tonight so that we won't have to continue to drag our citizens into meetings that they haven't attended previously anyway.
Commissioner Jackson, or Representative Jackson, excuse me, do you have anything you want to offer?
Well, I would have to agree with the other commissioners. It was already discussed, and, you know, to move into a different direction at this point, I don't see the real benefit of it from the community, and especially if they've already had, everyone's had opportunity to have an input.
Okay, with that said, sounds like the direction is to move forward the original thought, which was to demo the building.
And put a historical marker there. That's what we had talked about, putting like a historical marker in that location.
So was there a motion that was made to that effect?
Well, you're asking previously, or would you like one made tonight?
It would be great if you could
I'll
make
make a
one.
motion that we move forth with the demolition of the building, placing a marker on, a historical marker, to be determined how that is in the future. But let's move forward with the recommendation from the commission. Well, move forth with the recommendation to begin the process of demolition.
Second. Yes.
We have a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
One additional detail is we need to pursue a budget amendment in the amount of approximately $25,000 in order to effectuate the demolition of the property based on the existing budget.
Commissioner,
We've already, we have monies from the sale of the property that we should be able to use to do that portion of it. That's what we purchased it for.
For
The demo of the building
okay. So based on what we have in the budget currently,
from the sale,
is 65,000, I believe.
we'll use that portion to demo the building
Okay.
and get the marker.
If I may ask, what was the purpose of asking for the extra $25,000?
Go ahead.
Agree on this. So, board members, you are correct. You do have proceeds. The issue now is that it's sitting in your reserves line. We just need you to take a formal action to move it from reserves to a project line so that we can actually expend the funds. It's just an administrative kind of request. The funds are there, Commissioner. We just need to move them to a line so we can spend them. That's all.
And just a specific line item, just move it to, from reserves to general, to which line item?
Building acquisition and demolition. It's not showing up because there's nothing in it.
And it's 25,000 to demo that.
In addition.
So that previous quote was $20,000 and it's well over a year ago. We are going to do our best to get it even lower than that, but we don't want to have to come back before you again just to do what you're asking us to do. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, they were gonna be doing that St. Mark's building, I think they said for 1,600.
We called that contractor. Evidently, I think they got friends and family quote.
Okay, a
So,
faith deal,
yeah.
okay. All right.
Yes.
Big difference.
That's a
Can we
huge
check it? Can we check with that group to see? Well, even, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna charge us that much more than they're gonna do the 1,600. So hopefully we can just maybe check with those guys and see how much their quote would be as well.
We have. So they're one of our pre-approved vendors. Yeah, it's SCS Contracting.
Over 25?
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to move the funds from reserves to the demolition line for the building that we discussed today. As that's my motion.
The amount.
20, and not to exceed 25,000.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
I got a question.
Oh, question?
Yeah, because finance asked, where is the money? So I got a question. If you don't know where it is.
No, I was asking which district. I'm sorry, sir, forgive. I was asking what district, since I'm not familiar geographically with all the names that they're speaking about. So when they said that property, I wanted to know what district is that located in?
Property acquisition funds are
Just
in reserves right now.
But it's in the North District, correct?
Central.
Central.
Downtown District? Okay, yes, the funds are there.
Okay.
So being that we're moving forward, what is the anticipated timeline?
My vote was no. But go ahead.
What would be the process of moving this forward so it doesn't delay any further?
So in terms of the demolition timeline, yeah. So we're looking at 2 to 3 months in order to get that taken care of. Based on the contractors that we're working with, their workload and this,
the
Yes.
decision, and you already know it's gonna take 2 to 3 months.
that's the time frame that I think we're working with. So we'll try to expedite it. But I'm getting familiar with how work gets done in this community. So hopefully we can move it faster than that.
All set. On to items 4C. Discussion direction 3 to 4 River Street repairs, Tillman House.
Yes, this is an item, again, thank you, committee. This is an item that came before the committee before the CRA, for discussion of the necessary funds in order to effectuate the repairs. The CRA asked that we postpone this decision until the next meeting. And so we're bringing it back before you at this meeting. Now, recall, in the interim, this came before the commission for the purposes of discussing whether or not the commission wanted to expend the funds. And it was the decision at that time by the commission to move it back to the CRA for the CRA to consider expending the necessary funds in order to do the repairs.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Brown? Commissioner Campbell? Commissioner Boyle? Did you have any questions?
No other question.
Commissioner McCaskill? I'm going to open up to public comments in a minute. Representative Jackson, do you have any questions of Mr. Bell?
Just to clarify, I think I read somewhere that it's $100,000 in repairs that is needed for the Tillman House.
125.
How much?
125,
Five-ish.
125,000?
yes.
Okay. And so we're trying to do a complete repair or?
To address the code violations that were identified in order to bring it up to compliance.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Turner, do you have any questions of Mr. Bell?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Jones?
Last time I asked a question, were we gonna repair this house in preparation for sale? In preparation for sale shortly after? And the answer was not at this time. I want to make certain that that's not what we're doing with the people's money. So is that still the course? I wanted this on the record.
Yes, that's my understanding that we are, the decision before you is whether or not to spend the funds to bring it up to compliance. There is no intent or desire to make a sale of the property at this time.
Same answer. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open the floor up to public comment. Ms. Duke? Please give your name and address for the record in 3 minutes.
Madam Mayor, just
Yes.
point of clarity, she did ask to present on this item. Are we giving her 5 or 3 minutes?
You can do it in 3 minutes?
I think I can do it in 3 minutes.
This is public comment. No.
To give consideration, what additional information that we have not heard that will be presented tonight? Because we've heard, even when it was when citizens thought that we were going to try to sell it, we've heard several extensive conversations of what the league has put into it. Is there any additional information that we have not heard that will be presented tonight that we may need to take into consideration for the given time frame?
A little bit. We are doing some things where in the code violation, there was bare wood on the house that wasn't painted. We're taking care of painting that. And we had already replaced the sign that was in the code violation. So we've already done that. Matter of fact, we did that months ago before all this came up. We don't have, come September, our lease ends, and when we met before, when we got our 2-year lease, half of the year was already up, but we back paid the rent. And the talk then was we'd have a 3rd year lease. Part of the problem with us and not having a lease or a longer lease, it's hard to make a commitment to go to the community and say, different companies, help us replace these windows upstairs or do this or do that for us. We did that before the first time that we were put on the cutting block, that we would be the next property sold after the Hammett call. So, we didn't go out there looking for exterior help because we were getting ready to be homeless and we couldn't get any kind of lease. So it's kind of hard to continually live not knowing from one year to the next whether you're going to have a place for the Art League. Just my comment is, I think the Art League is important for the community. We function somewhat as a welcome center. People come in, we give them information about where to eat, where they can go when they ask us about things. And I think we're a very positive influence on that corner. And I really want to see the Tillman House saved, whether it's for us to stay there or somebody else to use that property for the city. It's a very important piece of historical property, and it sits where everybody sees it when they come to the different events on the riverfront, like the Bass. Every time we have a Bass Pro thing, we're on the news. You see it from the drone, So I think it's something you should be proud of and keep. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you for that information.
Ms. Powers?
I don't think I have anything
Okay.
extra.
Thank you. Ms. Kitchens?
Mayor, as your next speaker is coming up, I just want to remind the CRA that the staff recommendation on this is authorization of a budget transfer of $23,910 to basically do the building condition assessment for the Tillman House, which the scope of work is attachment A. This is not for all the repairs identified by code enforcement. I just want to provide some clarification.
Thank you.
$23,000.
And also the fact estimated repairs are 125,000.
No.
So we're looking at 125 plus.
May we give them
The
the opportunity
23.
to close
We-
out public comment so that
comments,
we.
please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. And what I want to address is exactly what's on the agenda, which is this project. First of all, the CRA has historically used their funds to bring houses in the South Historic District up to code when they had a codes violation. So why not go ahead and use the 125,000, which is probably less now because the Art League's already done some repairs. Go ahead and use the South TIF fund of $121,193 to bring the Tillman House up to code to remedy the codes violations. Then it's off the codes thing. then the Art League can talk about anything else they need to do and try to get more repairs. But I don't see spending $23,900 to have Pissarro and Associates, who are good guys, go in and nitpick the whole darn building when you got 5 codes violations that need to be addressed, and you can do that for under $125,000. Why spend the additional almost $24,000? It makes no sense whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. Okay. Mr. Bell?
Yes, ma'am. So we have a staff recommendation for budget transfer $23,910 to accomplish a detailed building code and condition assessment, BCA, for the Tillman House. Or we can move forward with making the repairs, which are estimated to require $121,193 coming out of the reserve funding.
So just to comment on both sides, I understand the rationale behind suggesting not to have the assessment. Having rehabbed several historic structures, when you stop making repairs, all sorts of things come up. Not to say we have to repair everything at once, but if you have this assessment, you have this plan going forward, that you know what might need to be done. Now that I'm just saying that, I'm playing the other side. I see the former mayor shaking his head no. How many, it's still, I understand the extra cost, but sometimes it's better to do things right. That's all I'm saying, but I'm sure everybody's going to disagree with me. Go on, Commissioner Campbell. Any further comments? Commissioner Jones?
I don't agree with spending $23,910,000
Okay.
for an assessment when we know that there's repairs already need to be done, and they've already been named by, if we say by our code enforcement officers.
Commissioner Barr, any comments?
No other comments other than I like to just spend the money to get it repaired.
Commissioner Casco, any further questions or comments?
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Jones, not that additional 23.
Ms. Jackson?
I have to be in agreement with the other commissioners, not the 23,000, but of course to repair the property.
Commissioner Turner?
I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so how would we so basically you're looking for a motion to say, to not move forward with this assessment, correct? Okay.
That wasn't on the agenda.
That is what's-
Assessment was.
She said we're voting on right now.
She would be Miss West.
I mean, well,
Yes, and that is what, if you look in your packet, that is what's in there at this time.
Oh, they just said the repairs, for the repairs. So
but that wasn't it. But there's not a motion on the floor.
Let me look back at this.
Do we have a motion?
4C? What, 4C?
There is a breakdown of all of the repairs and pretty photos,
Oh,
but the discussion really was for the assessment, which is the last page of that packet of this area.
The total that you show there is paint, windows, siding, total,
That's the last page, so
right? 125.
And this is this.
that was for the assessment. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Cause initially, when we left our last meeting, I know it was 120
That's in here
something,
as
and
well.
that's what I was going on.
Right,
Yeah.
125.
So I think right now, though, we're trying to, what I understood is that the majority of the CRA board felt that extra assessment cost was not necessary. So I was looking for a motion in regards to that, to just say, no, thank you, a motion to say we're not in favor of that 23,000 change being used for an assessment.
And if it's the pleasure of the CRA to move forward with making the repairs not to exceed 125,000, then we would need a motion to that effect.
If we can get the design in the 125, then yes, but so, that's the one.
Motion to accept staff staff recommendation, for the 125,000.
Motion to have a second?
Second on the 125.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Next for D, discussion direction downtown banners and Christmas decorations. Mr. McMillan, Mr. Bell.
I'm gonna defer to Mr. McMillan on the decorations conversation.
Board members, good evening. How are you? Looking for some discussion direction regarding two items, specifically banner brackets and banners for downtown along the new and existing light poles, and discussion for Christmas decorations for this year. So right now we've got estimates to get banner brackets to install 24 by 48 inch banners along the light poles down St. John's Avenue. That's something that we've had in the past, and it's something that, you know, it could be valuable to the community. But regarding the design of the banners and the, I guess, display of them, you know, what would this board like to see displayed? Staff is kind of recommending that, you know, maybe 1 in 3 of those banners be a city logo type banner, another 1 in 3 potentially be an American flag, and then another 1 in 3 of those be a changeable banner for holidays, so that we could address, you know, specific holidays such as, you know, Christmas more specifically downtown. But we're kind of looking for a breakdown and then maybe some discussion as to how we should determine the actual design of the banner.
Are we gonna have enough room for the banners, with the stop signs hanging on the sign, on the poles as it is?
Yes, sir.
So are we gonna move those stop signs off the pole?
Yes, sir. The brackets for the stop sign specifically have been on back order. We have a shipment of them in. We've got custom cast bases as well to cover those. They should be beginning to be installed in the next couple of weeks.
Commissioner Campbell.
As far as the layout, I would leave that to be open and possibly something that we vote on as it comes in. I would make as I wrote down, from our conference this past weekend, through Crescent City, it was good to see that they had the banners out, promoting, the Catfish Festival. And I remember back in the days, we did have banners lining up downtown, and we were actually, contacted by local schools that wanted to possibly have banners hung up downtown during homecoming week or different other activities that may be going on within the school district or their respective schools. So I don't want to be so boggled down to where we as a commission gives directives and it draws out the process of what could come. I think the recommendation that you made, I would be friendly to the recommendation that you made, and I trust staff enough to know that they won't allow anything to be hung up downtown that is not integral. So,
Commissioner Jones, do you have any questions, comments?
Well, if you're gonna do specific holidays, I just want you to be sensitive, and I think you should bring it back for approval of this commission on different seasonal banners, culturally. So you know understand where I'm coming from?
Absolutely, sir.
All right, so just be conscious of that and bring it back to us so that we'll have inclusion for everyone. That would be my biggest concern. Just make sure we're including every group as far as a banner in their specific holidays, because you don't want to be, some people don't celebrate Christmas.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure that we have Kwanzaa, we have other things alike. So with Hanukkah, that's exactly. All right.
Commissioner Boyle.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but also if you want to do that, is there any way you can put something out on the Reed Street side to where it can also kind of display and show what we have going? Because not everybody travel downtown as well. So if we can kind of maybe extend the advertisement on the Reed Street side as well to kind of either direct people or let them know what we have going on. I think that'll be another option, I think.
I think DOT has something to do there, right?
For the flag
I think we discussed that before, that DOT.
Yeah.
With them.
thought Jonathan said at one point that they had something that was viable to be able to put up. Am I?
So happy to share A positive update, DOT is working on a resurfacing project for the Reed Street corridor downtown. Mr. McMillan, myself, Marcia Gano, and a few other staff members have been in contact with that project team. One of the things that was discussed, in addition to some landscape medians, of which we hoped to present to you tonight, but it wasn't quite ready yet from DOT, was the addition of decorative light poles, of which we could put banners on in the future. So we've started that conversation with DOT and Florida Power and Light, and hopefully we'll be back before you at a later date with more positive news.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. I meant to call you Mr. Griffith, not Jonathan, so thank you.
Commissioner McCaskill, anything? Okay. Ms. Jackson? Commissioner Turner? Okay.
So just for clarification, regarding the banners specifically is to go with staff's recommendation for 1 and 3 banners to be a removable type banner, and then to go back at the next CRA meeting potentially with potential candidates and designs for those banners, and potentially a list of holidays to be assigned a banner.
I like the idea of the city crest that you were talking about.
I think that's what I heard too, is to come back with like specifically the holiday, but the others seem fine. Is that what everybody agrees? Okay.
Okay, if I may, the next discussion specifically is Christmas decorations along the avenue. As many of you are aware, the light poles have been removed from 4th Street to 11th Street. With those removals, the infrastructure that we'd historically used to have Christmas lights and the trees downtown was destroyed. They were set in big concrete piles underneath the banner or the light poles. So we couldn't restore that. In the future streetscapes program, that is intended to be replaced, but for this year, this coming Christmas, it's not anticipated that we'll have power for Christmas lights past 4th Street. So what staff is looking for is some direction as to what you might want to see down the avenue. And one of our recommendations is, historically we've had garland with a bow on the light poles. We've got new light poles. Our garlands and bows had deteriorated to where probably 40% of them had fallen apart last Christmas. Is to actually replenish our stock of those, utilizing the funding that wasn't outlined or won't be expended this year for Christmas decorations, lights specifically from 4th to 11th, but also maintaining, lighting from 4th to Memorial.
Madam Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Turner.
Dale, was the 25,000 that was requested, is that for everything you just said, including the brackets?
No, sir. The brackets would be an independent cost of about $5,800. That includes one round of brackets. Any additional sets of brackets are about $40 a piece, depending on the design. That $25,000 specifically is for what we budgeted in the past for Christmas lights. And again, we wouldn't be utilizing that full amount this year because we don't have the infrastructure in place. So to utilize a portion of that or more for additional decorations down the avenue.
Okay, I noticed in the budget that they did have 25,000 in there for this line item or for this type of line item. I guess my next question would be to finance, is the 5,800 that was requested, is it also in the budget, or would that be a line item to come out of reserves?
That would have to be, we would have to look at the consideration of the budget transfer. It is not currently delineated in the budget separately. However, there is a line item called site amenities. Hope I said it correctly. And there's 40,000 sitting there. So it's going to be my recommendation that we consider transferring the funds from that line item.
So this would not be in addition to the 25,000 that you're going to need for further Christmas decorations. This would be basically the Christmas decoration line item. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds pretty good to me. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Jones. Warren, Commissioner Warren, Commissioner McCaskill.
No additional.
Okay, Ms. Jackson. Okay, so with that said, is our direction to Mr. McMillan and company to move forward with the Christmas decorations as we described?
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? All right, thank you. Now to reports, CRA financials for 5 months that ended on February 29th, 2024.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Campbell,
before
Commissioner Turner.
while she's walking up there, is there did the motion include that we transfer the other money out of the 40,000 where they can get their brackets too?
That was the intent, that they would transfer from the line item site amenities. They required 5847 to cover the brackets.
That was my question. Was
That's
that
my
included
question.
in the motion where they can get their brackets and their Christmas decorations?
It was
That
not.
was the
included.
intent. But that was the intent.
Site amenities?
Actually, Commission, the site amenity line allows for the expense for these brackets as it is an amenity for that area.
So we can just take it
It
from there.
it can be utilized from there.
Good.
Correct.
So that was the intent of
I
the
got
motion.
you. So we will not necessarily need a budget transfer. We can just pay for it from that line item.
Okay, thank you. I guess my
Okay,
question was,
site
did the
amenities.
motion include both of those items?
That's what it did not.
I don't think so. It does not
I
require.
don't, Ms. West, don't they both fall under the category of site amenities?
No, I'm not. I think I'm being misunderstood, Mayor. My
Okay.
question did Commissioner Boram's motion include that they can buy their brackets and their Christmas decorations from the funds that have been determined can be used for that?
That was the intent of the motion,
Okay.
based on what was presented.
Thank you. That was only my question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cotty.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, those in attendance. Looking at the 5 months ended February 29th, 2024. Year to date, we have received 819,000 in our property tax revenues, our TIF incremental revenues. We also have other revenues such as the sale of the Hammock Hall and also contributions. So that was an additional 134,000. So year to date, we have received or earned $953,548.22. So that's our revenue that has come in thus far, representing 46% of our total budget, or 97% of the revenues that we are generating yearly. For the district, downtown district. Okay. We have spent 27,000. I'm on expenses now, I'm on page 2, 27,000. And that only represents 2% of our budget. The budget for the downtown district is 1,460,000. So that's where we are year to date. Also for the district, which is South Historic, we've only spent year to date $3,719. And again, that's 1% of our entire budget for that district. The budget is 317,000. And then finally, for the North Historic District, we've only spent $2,586. And this is for 5 months year to date. That represent 2%. So at the end of the day, at the end of February 29, 2024, which represents 5 months, we have spent $33,542. And so our net results at the end of 5 months is 920,000. Okay? If there are any questions, I will answer them if I can.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, we do have projects, at least I know in the central business coming up that we will be expending the, funds from those funds, correct?
Yes, as far as I know, yes, sir.
And I'm not sure how many projects we have in the north, from do we have any CIP in the north? Anything going on in the north? No. And I'm not sure about, but I do know we have some activity that we'll be doing in the central, so that'll use up quite a bit.
So I'm like kind of encouraging
Need to spend.
that we start spending.
To be allocated.
Yes.
Funds.
Okay.
Savings.
All right. I wanted to take advantage of standing before you today. I do teach at different conferences, cities and so forth related to CRA. And so today I'm giving a presentation. It'll take about 5 minutes. Hopefully you'll put it up. I don't know if she sent it. Maybe we didn't. You ready? Okay.
Ms. Jackson has a question in the.
Yes, ma'am.
Our last meeting, you said you would come back with spending timeline, that spending timeline, is that?
Well, I think that'll come more from operational, perhaps, Mr. Bell or Mr. Griffith could address that better in terms of spending money. I mean, as finance, I want to encourage them to spend more ratably. However, I know that it's project sensitive, so based upon the status of the various projects that are in CRA, I believe either of these two gentlemen can answer that.
We have not currently identified a spending timeline. And so if that's something that we have committed to bring back to the CRA, we can do that.
Okay, so I guess we're not gonna have it? Okay, all right, so, well, what we're gonna talk about real fast is what the rules are for a CRA and to encourage. And one of our reasons why we're bringing this up, because I did look at the year-to-date at the end of the prior fiscal year that ended September 30th, 2023. And I was concerned that we had so much money left over based upon the revenues that were generated during that prior year and what we had actually spent. And what I was able to determine at this point, not saying that you have not done whatever's necessary, I'm just pointing things out so that you can be alert. Last fiscal year, we had unspent funds of $484,895. And so that makes me, as your finance person, to say, hey, pay attention. You have to spend this money or at least allocate it to capital projects. And you also have a time limit as to when you must spend money. So if you do not spend money during the course of the year or by the end of the year, then you have to literally appropriate the funds to a project. So I'm sure we all know that. So I'm going to go rather quickly. CRA new and scary financial guidance that happened like about a year ago. And so my whole thing is how a local government can manage CRA, receive a clean audit opinion, and not be terminated, because that threat is there. They want to terminate everyone by 2039. So I'm saying, look, you can be alive, vibrant, and still keep it going. So move to the next one, please. Or do you want me? Okay, good. So what is CRA? It's a dependent special district, right? Where future increases in property values are set aside to support economic development projects within that district. So here we have 3 districts, and that's the goal. We use it to redevelop slums and blighted areas. And it can be controlled by a governing body that's composed of a local governor or the commissioners. Next, please. Can you move? Thank you. So it's under Chapter 163, and local governments are able to designate areas, and the money for financing CRA is locally generated. It's not overseen by the state. So what controls it is actually your local government comprehensive plan. Move, please. We got questions like how are they authorized, who oversee them? So the first thing is the creation of it. And it's like a sparkling light. You have to have certain conditions, and examples of those conditions would be like inadequate structures. We just talked about that. Shortage of affordable housing, inadequate infrastructure, insufficient roadways, and parking. So that's how you create. And what's the steps? There's only 5 steps. You can move the 5 steps. You can move it, please. There they are, public meeting. That begins the whole process. Then you develop something called the finding of necessity, and then you have to adopt it. And then you got to develop a plan to address whatever the necessities are. And then you also create a trust fund. And all of this, the city has already done. You can move forward, please. The state is our guidance. The statutes is what we live by, and that's what we're doing. Everything we're doing is based upon Statute 163. You can move to the next one. And it's called tax increment funding. That's why you say TIF, tax incremental funding. And what is the finding of necessity? It's just going through the community. There has to be a vote in order to establish it. Next, please. But we need a workable program. The program is to remove blight, and that's what we've been talking about. Prevent the spread of blight, rehabilitation or conservation of slum and blighted areas. That's our main focus. We look at residents that are low income, moderate income, the elderly, things of that nature. Next. Keywords: development of affordable housing, implementation of community policing. That's a concept that we might want to look at more. How do we police our community? And we can use CRA funding for that. Maintaining historical and cultural values of a depressed environment while we improve the status of our residents. So that's pretty much what this is used for: parks, playgrounds. You can move it, please. Next. So tax, what is money? Money is our tax increment financing. So like, for instance, this year and year to date, we received $819,000. That's our TIF money. Okay. Move, please. And that's based upon dollar value of our real property. So the keys to success is our redevelopment plan. You could go. Next. So who runs it? Well, I would think the squeaky wheel, but I might be wrong. The greatest contributor, the loudest mouth, the mean man, the most innovative. Who runs the CRA? Who's the boss? Next. And the answer is our board. The board directs it. Move, please. And so the board is very similar to the board of directors. Everyone that come in bring their own, feelings and passions. And some people come in saying, we want to eliminate drugs. Other wants to increase income level, educational level. And some people just want it to be a better life, a better culture for the residents. Next. It is a real entity, even though it can be the same entity that's running the city. Next. So the main activities is infrastructure, such as streetscapes, roadway improvements, building renovations, and then also giving out grants to different businesses and residents, and then retraining the population. All of this is a part of CRA. Next, please. It's important that our property tax revenue is collected, and then it comes directly to us. And here in Palatka, we receive our money very promptly. Next, please. So the Florida legislature is our judge and mediator. If Palatka CRA had a problem, they would address that concern between cities and counties. The Florida legislature would be our mediator. Next. Legislative guidance, what's right, what's wrong? Next. Mainly that redevelopment plan, that's the key, that's the Bible. If you had to say, what do we live by? We live by our redevelopment plan. Next, please. The code of ethics with our public officials. It's a critical, like if public officials own property within the district, that has to be known, transparency. Next. The life, as mentioned before, there's an intent right now to eliminate all the CRAs by year 2039. So basically speaking, the board itself can vote to continue the life, but they won't let it go beyond that unless there are bonds or debt that is associated with the CRA. Then you can extend it, but only to the life to pay that debt off. Next. Okay, an inactive CRA, they're gonna put you out of business. Inactive means you don't have anything, you're not doing anything, so the state will move to terminate you, and you have 30 days to appeal. And so if they see you aren't spending money and so forth, Next, you want me to move faster? I'm trying. Financial reports and audits, okay. So planning and hard work is how you get a clean audit. Next, please. We have to do 5 annual reports, our audit, the annual fees, a comprehensive annual plan. They have to be posted online, and our budget. Next. We understand that the budget needs to be on the website 2 days prior to the budget hearing, 30 days after adoption. Next. And again, most important is any money left over, we're supposed to give it back unless we have a plan. The audit requirements, we adhere to the Auditor General. Next. So some examples, when I was doing this, I was helping Daytona Beach, and you can turn the next page. For Daytona, their main CRA focus was affordable home ownership. That was their primary problem. Next. Quincy had a lot of historical, cultural kind of properties, and they were regenerating their downtown environment. Next. Miami, they were creating opportunities for community empowerment. Basically, their CRA became so effective that it became worth billions of dollars within about 10 years. And it started out by cleaning the environment. The environment was filthy. Next. And finally, and that's some of the projects that were done over town. They grabbed the population, the older people, the people that had never worked, people that came from jail and prisons and so forth. And that's how they revamped their community, and now they're extremely profitable. So that's it, I believe. That's it? One more? Okay, so that's it. So my intent was to just help make you think about some of the things that you need to do. And the most important thing now is making sure that we have a plan for any funds that were not spent as of the end of September 30th, 2023. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cotty.
Thank you. That was a wealth of knowledge. And it's well taken.
Next, Small Business Development Center, Mr. Paul.
Rick Paul, Small Business Development Center, 1100 Reed Street. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well. In front of you, commissioners, you have the impact that just came out today, in fact, and it's the new revised format. Looks really good. Gives the information across pretty quickly. As you know, the University of North Florida SBDC is in an 18-county region running from Nassau County down to St. John's, through Putnam over to, I think it's Levy, and then all the way back up to Lake City, Live Oak, and then back over to Nassau. So to bring you up to date on these numbers, there's basically 4 things that we're judged on as SBDC business consultants. Clients by consultants, number one. Putnam County is now ranked number 2 out of all 18 counties. Capital by consultant, Putnam County is now 3rd, 1.3 million so far this year. New business starts by consultant, Putnam County is a little bit higher than the average. And as far as hours by consultant, just a little bit higher than average in there. One of the things that's interesting about this is clients by consultant. The SBDC has been impacted by layoffs and people moving on. So I'm now taking quite a few clients from Clay County, Duval County, and other places. I'm doing remote work with them instead of them coming into town. But I'm still servicing everybody here in Putnam County. Next up, you should see a new CRA flyer in front of you. Does everybody have a copy of that? The date of that is May 21st from 5 to 6 p.m. Thanks to Andrea at the Azalea City Brewing Company. We will hold it there again. The last event was very successful. We had over 88 people register, and just judging by the size of the crowd, I'm thinking as at least 75 or 80 people were at that. I think this is a very important part of the community building for the business area. I held a similar event at the city of Crescent City a week or two ago. While it's, Crescent City is obviously much smaller, we had 30 people show up for the event. We stayed for a couple of hours, and out of that, there were 3 new business starts. At the previous CRA meeting at Azalea City Brewing Company with 75, 80 people, as far as I know, there was 1 new business start. I think a lot of the buzz for the CRA event at the Azalea City Brewing Company where people were on the sidelines. So I would highly encourage you to come and for the CRA event. It's your party, basically. May 21st from 5 to 6. I know for a fact we had several people there that were looking to invest in the city, but they're still on the sidelines. So perhaps, coming there and schmoozing a little bit with the potential people that are looking to move to the city and start jobs would help bring those businesses on into town into fruition. Are there any questions for the SBDC?
Any questions for Mr. Hall? No? Okay, thank you.
And does the date, the 21st, that's what the staff decided on at 5 to 6? Is that
Be fine.
doable?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anything else for the CRA?
I do, just for a point, prior to, we used to have where the different districts used to come and report. Is that still not a thing, or what's the issue?
May I?
You may, go ahead.
Okay. I always email them asking them if they have a written report that they would like to include in the packet, and I have not received anything.
I don't know how active, at least for the North and South, how active those organizations are anymore. Miss Annie left, but she told me recently they were probably going to dissolve their 501c3. They really didn't meet or anything. So that may be a piece of it.
Just wondering, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Dissolving their North Hill?
That's what she meant. She's not here, so I'd rather have her speak to that, but she did mention that to me, that they're not meeting.
I think he's got a.
The neighborhood association, not the TIF. Oh, no, when one TIF, not-
We do that anyway.
No, we were talking about the neighborhood associations that reported, came here and gave a report.
Yeah,
No.
the board handles that piece.
No, I was not talking about that. We were talking, that was not the question, but anyway,
Okay.
is there anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay, thank you all.